The following is a lecture devoted to Nrisimhadeva Appearance Day, given by His Grace Sriman Sankarshan Das Adhikari, recorded on May 26th, 2010, in Sofia, Bulgaria.
So, today is the most auspicious appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev.
Тази вечер е най-благоприятното появяване на Бог Нрисимхадев.
So, to invoke auspiciousness, we will first pray as follows. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Barakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Zavadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. So, tonight we will study a wonderful verse by Prahlad Maharaj.
Тази вечер ще изучаваме стих от изговорено Шри Пралад Махарадж.
There's two prayers actually. I'll read text number 8 and then we'll also read text number 9.
Всъщност това са две молитви, стих 8 и стих 9.
Om Namo Bhagavate Narasingaya Namaste Jasyaviravrabhava Vajjanaka Vrajjajangsha Karmashayan Randaya Tamograsa Krisolang Swaha Abhayam Habhayam Atmani Bhuyishta Om Traum. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsimhadev, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth, just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. You can read that translation only.
Преводът на този стих, тази молитва. Отдавам своите смирени почитания на Бог Нрисимхадев, източникът на цялата сила. О мой Господи, който притежаваш ногти и зъби като мълни, моля те, унищожи нашите подобни на демони желания за плодоносни дейности в този материален свят. Моля те, появи се в нашите и отстрани невежеството ни, така че по Твоята милост да станем безстрашни в борбата за съществуване в този материален свят.
And now text number 9. Svastiyastu vishvashakala prasiditam dayantu bhutani shivam mitodiya manascha badrang bhajatam dadhoksajeya vaishnatang no mitarapyahaitaki. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. Purport. The following verse describes a Vaishnava. Vanshakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyevacha patitanang pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Just like a desire tree, a Vaishnava can fulfill all the desires of anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj is a typical Vaishnava. He prays not for himself, but for all living entities, the gentle, the envious, and the mischievous. He always thought of the welfare of mischievous persons like his father, Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj did not ask for anything for himself. Rather, he prayed for the Lord to excuse his demoniac father. This is the attitude of a Vaishnava, who always thinks of the welfare of the entire universe. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Dharma are meant for persons who are completely free from envy, parama nirmatsaranam. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays in this verse, Kala prasidatam. May all envious persons be pacified. The material world is full of envious persons, but if one frees himself of envy, he becomes liberal in his social dealings and can think of others' welfare. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord cleanses his mind of all envy. Manascha badrang bhajatam madoksaje. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Nrsimhadev to sit in our hearts. We should pray, Bahir nasingo hridaye nasinga, which means, let Lord Nrsimhadev sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean, so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given us a very fine purport in this regard. Whenever one offers a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one always requests some benediction from Him. Even pure Nishkama devotees pray for some benediction, as instructed by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshashtaka. Ainanda tanuja kinkarang patirang mang vishame bhavam buddho kripaya tava pada pankajastita duli sadrisham vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of birth and death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. In another prayer, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhaktira Haitakitvaye. Life after life, kindly let me have unalloyed love and devotion at your Lordship's lotus feet. When Prahlad Maharaj chants Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya, he prays for a benediction from the Lord. But because he is also an exalted Vaishnava, he wants nothing for his personal sense gratification. The first desire expressed in his prayer is Svasti Astu Vishvasya. Let there be good fortune throughout the entire universe. Prahlad Maharaj thus requested the Lord to be merciful to everyone, including his father, a most envious person. According to Chanakya Pandit, there are two kinds of envious living entities. One is a snake, and the other is the man like Hiranyakashipu, who is by nature envious of everyone, even of his father or son. Hiranyakashipu was envious of his little son Prahlad. But Prahlad Maharaj asked a benediction for the benefit of his father. Hiranyakashipu was very envious of devotees, but Prahlad wished that his father and other demons like him would give up their envious nature by the grace of the Lord and stop harassing the devotees. Kala prasidatam. The difficulty is that the kala, the envious living entity, is rarely pacified. One kind of kala, the snake, can be pacified simply by mantras, by the action of a particular herb. Mantra shaudi vasha sarpa kalakena nirvariyate. An envious person, however, cannot be pacified by any means. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that all envious persons may undergo a change of heart and think of the welfare of others. If the Krishna consciousness movement spreads all over the world, and if by the grace of Krishna everyone accepts it, the thinking of envious people will change. Everyone will think of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays, Shivang Matodya. In material activities, everyone is envious of others, but in Krishna consciousness, no one is envious of anyone else. Everyone thinks of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that everyone's mind may become gentle by being fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. As indicated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savayamana Krishna Padaravindayo, and is advised by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 1865, Manmanamavamad Bhakta. One should constantly think of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then one's mind will certainly be cleansed. Chaito Darpanamarjanam. Materialists always think of sense gratification, but Prahlad Maharaj prays that the Lord's mercy will change their minds and they will stop thinking of sense gratification. If they think of Krishna always, everything will be all right. Some people argue that if everyone thought of Krishna in that way, the whole universe would be vacated because everybody would go back to Om, back to Godhead. However, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is impossible because the living entities are innumerable. If one set of living entities is actually delivered by the Krishna consciousness movement, another set will fill up the universe. So Prahlad Maharaj is teaching us how to be devotees for Lord Nrsimhadev.
И така Шри Пралад Махарадж ни учи как да бъдем преданодадени на Бог Нрисимхадев.
Devotee means not envious.
Преданодаден означава някой, който не завижда.
Recently one of the devotees here asked me, well, how do you get free of envy? I mean, is there some practical way to get rid of it?
Наскоро един преданодаден тук ме попита, има ли някакъв практичен начин човек да се освободи от завистта?
The way to get rid of envy is replace it with good thoughts.
И начинът да се освободим от завистта е да заменим с положителни мисли.
If there's some devotee that I had a disagreement with him, we kind of had it out with we didn't hit it off very well together, you see, and I have some bad memories and thoughts about that devotee, then what should I do?
Ако в взаимоотношенията си с някой преданодаден, аз имам лоши спомени заради някакви недобри взаимоотношения, какво трябва да направя в такъв случай?
We have to have positive thoughts about the devotees.
Трябва да поддържаме, култивираме позитивни мисли за преданодаден.
We have to appreciate every devotee.
Ние трябва да оценяваме всеки един от тях.
Otherwise, if we don't appreciate a devotee, then envy will take its place, you see.
Иначе, ако не цениме преданодадените, тогава завистта ще се прокрадне в сърцата.
We have envy in our hearts towards the devotees, then we must stay in the cycle of birth and death.
Ако поддържаме завист в сърцата си към преданодадените, ще трябва да остане в цикъла на раждането и смъртта.
So we have to see that Prahlad, even though his father was an out-and-out demon, he wasn't even a devotee, he was a complete demon, tried to murder his own son again and again.
Това виждаме отношението на Пралад Махарадж към своя баща, който дори не бил преданодаден. Той бил демон, който се опитва да убие сина си отново и отново.
He was praying a benediction for his father.
Той се молил на Бога за благословия за неговия баща.
He didn't have any ill will towards his father at all.
Той изобщо не поддържа никакви лоши чувства към своя баща.
Yeah, let him burn hell forever, the demon.
Той не си мислил, нека този демон да гори в ада за винаги.
No, he wanted. He didn't ask any. Even though the Lord was very pleased with him, would give any benediction to Prahlada. You see.
Дори въпреки че Богът бил много удовлетворен и бил готов да даде всякаква благословия на Пралад.
He mainly thought, "Oh, my poor father, you see, may he be blessed by Lord Nrsimhadev."
Пралад си помислил, моят беден баща, нека той получи благословие от Бог Нрисимхадев.
So this is the mood of a pure devotee, you see.
Ето това е настроението на чистия предан.
He wants that everybody should become happy throughout the whole world.
Той желае щастието на всички живи същества в цялата вселена.
He doesn't want to see that anybody is suffering.
Той не иска да вижда никой да страда.
This is a wonderful prayer.
Това е наистина една прекрасна молитва.
Especially for preachers.
Особено за тези, които са ангажирани в проповядване.
May there be good fortune throughout the entire universe.
Нека цялата вселена се изпълни със щастие.
And may all envious persons be pacified.
И нека всички завистливи личности бъдат умиротворени.
What do you think the percentage is of envious people on the planet out of the population?
Колко си мислите, че процент от завистливите личности от населението на планетата?
How about 99.9999%?
Какво бихте казали за 99,999%?
It's pretty heavy, the atmosphere right now.
Това е такава атмосферата и тя е доста натегната, тежка.
People are full of envy.
Защото хората са изпълнени с завист.
Everybody wants something that somebody else has, you see.
Всички искат нещо, което някой друг има.
And if they get it, they're still not satisfied.
И дори да го получат, все още не са удовлетворени.
Then they see something else that somebody else has that they don't have.
Когато видят, че някой притежава нещо, което те самите нямат.
So people are very aggressive, you see. This envy inspires them to work very hard and with a passion.
Хората стават много агресивни, защото тази завист ги потиква да работят усилено в гуната на страстта.
To outdo their neighbors, you see.
За да надминат своите съседи.
Oh, my neighbor got a swimming pool, so I have to have a bigger swimming pool in my backyard.
Моят съсед си направи басейн и сега аз трябва да имам още по-голям басейн в задния си.
My neighbor got a Ford, now I have to get a Mercedes.
Съседа ми си купи Форд, сега аз трябва да си купя Мерцедес.
In this way, people, what's called, in English they call it one up, being one up on everybody else.
Това се казва, нали, да си винаги над другите.
People play a game called one-upmanship. That means always trying to be, better off than you. See, that's the material game.
Това е материалната игра. Материалистите се опитват винаги да са по-напред от другия.
In all their dealings, everyone wants to show, well, I'm better than you. Ha ha ha.
Във всички свои взаимоотношения всеки се опитва да покаже, че е по-добър от другия.
Everybody wants to be one up on everybody else. That's envy.
Всеки иска да се изтъкне пред другите и това е завист.
And in the same way, we do the same thing with God. That's another problem, you see.
И същото нещо се намира в взаимоотношенията ни с Бога и това е друг проблем.
That God is my servant.
Ние си мислиме, че Богът е наш слуга.
If God does what I want him to do, then he is very good.
Ако той прави това, което аз искам да направи, значи е много добър.
And if he doesn't fulfill my desires, I will teach him a good lesson. I will become an atheist.
И ако той не изпълни желанията ми, аз ще го науча един много добър урок, като стана атеист.
You see, the people are envious even of God, you see.
Виждате как хората дори завиждат на Бога.
So, this Krishna conscious movement is the greatest benediction upon the suffering humanity.
Затова движението за Кришна съзнание е най-голямата благословия за страдащото човечество.
It's giving everyone the opportunity how to become non-envious.
Защото то предоставя възможност на всички да станат независтливи.
Because in Krishna consciousness, one gets more satisfaction in giving service than in accepting service.
Защото в Кришна съзнание човек извлича по-голямо удовлетворение от това да отдава служение, отколкото да получава.
In the material world, everyone wants to put themselves in a position not having to give service to anyone and how to just take service from everyone. That's what they aim for.
В материалния свят всеки се стреми да получи служение за себе си, да не отдава никакво служение на другите.
The more I can become a lord of this material world, you see, the more the lord of everyone, that is my success. That's material life.
Те си мислят, че колкото повече контролирам другите, владея ги, това се смята за успех.
That's an example, you see.
И ето това
He wants to show, I have a faster car than you do, you see.
Той иска да покаже, че има по-бърз мотор или кола от другите.
I can get on the highway and you're rolling along and I'm rolling along. I can put my foot on that pedal and leave you behind the dust. Ha ha ha.
Мога да застана на магистралата, да натисна педала на гъста и просто да ви остава зад мене да ми дишате праха.
Everybody, see, they want to get a beautiful woman also, so they can look. All their guys can see. Yeah, my girlfriend isn't as pretty as his girlfriend. The same thing.
Всеки иска да има красива жена, за да може другите да му завиждат.
So it's just envy. I want to have more money. I want to have more beautiful girlfriend, a more beautiful wife, a better car. It's all this envy game. That's all it is.
Всичко това е завист. Искаш да имаш по-добри неща от другите, за да ти завиждат.
But no one has ever become happy by it. No one ever in the history.
Но никой никога в историята не е станал щастлив от това.
You see, that envy is what has brought us into this material world. We were envious of Krishna.
Завистта е това, което ни е довело в материалния свят, защото ние сме завидели на Кришна.
Why you should be the supreme?
Защо пък ти да си върховният?
Why not me?
Защо не аз?
You see, it's envy.
Ето това е завист.
So Krishna says, well, if you want to try, you want to be the supreme, I'll let you try being the supreme.
И Кришна казва, добре, ако искаш да бъдеш върховния, аз ще ти позволя да се опиташ.
I'll give you a world in which you can think that you are the supreme.
Ще ти дам такъв свят, в който ти можеш да си мислиш, че си върховен.
In which you can fully live in an envious mood and think it's very nice.
Където ти можеш да живееш потопен в това завистливо настроение и да си мислиш, че е много хубаво.
But those persons who are intelligent, they realize this doesn't work. There's something wrong with this world.
Но интелигентните личности разбират, че това не работи и че има нещо погрешно в този материален свят.
I want happiness. I want unlimited happiness, but yet somehow I can't get it.
Аз искам тук щастие и то безкрайно щастие, но по един или друг начин не мога да го постигна.
I did everything my parents said, and everything my teachers said, but still I couldn't be happy. Why?
Направих всичко, което ми препоръчаха моите родители, моите учители, но пак не постигна щастие.
Is it something wrong with me?
Дали нещо проблема е в мен?
Or is it something wrong with the instructions I was given?
Или проблема е в наставленията, които съм получил?
Actually, there's nothing wrong with us.
Всъщност, грешката не е в нас.
We're all the part and parcel of God.
Ние всички сме частици от Бога.
There's no defect. Every living entity is by nature perfect.
Няма никакво несъвършенство, защото по природата си всяко живо същество е
There's
съвършено.
no defect in us.
Проблема не е в нас.
The problem is we have received the wrong training how to be happy. That's all.
Проблемът е, че ние сме получили неправилно обучение как да станем щастливи. Това е.
We've been encouraged in this envious mood.
Ние сме окуражавани в тази завист.
Instead of service, we want to try to lord it over, you see.
Вместо да служим, ние се опитваме да контролираме.
So that's why it's so important to come in contact with Vaishnavas, bona fide guru, the scriptures. It's so absolutely important.
Затова е толкова абсолютно важно човек да влезе в контакт с Вайшнава, авторитетен духовен. Because
from guru, from sadhus, and from the scriptures, you can actually learn. I don't need to be envious anymore. This isn't getting me anywhere.
Защото от гуру, саду и шастра човек може да научи, че няма нужда да бъде повече завистлив, защото това не му носи никаква полза.
If I can become the non-envious well-wisher of all, that will give me unlimited happiness.
Ако аз мога да стана независтливия благожелател на всички, това ще ми даде безкрайно щастие.
So this is we see in Prahlad Maharaj.
Можем да видим това в примера на Пралад Махарадж.
He's a non-envious well-wisher of all living entities.
Който е независтливия доброжелател на всички живи същества.
Same thing in Lord Jesus.
Същото и се отнася и за Господ Исус.
They were crucifying him.
Те го разпънали на кръст.
He said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing.
Но той казал, Отче, прости им, те не знаят какво вършат.
A Vaishnava does not hold grudges.
Един вайшнава не тъй никакви лоши чувства.
He forgives unlimited offenses.
Той прощава безкрай много оскърбления.
Always wishing the very best for all living beings throughout the universe. That is Vaishnava.
Като винаги желае благото най-доброто на всички живи същества в Вселената. Това е Вайшнава.
So I can ask now if there's any questions.
Сега ще попитам дали имате някакви въпроси.
Няма на коментара Вишванат Чакравади Такур казва, че може би се бъркам, но че ако получат освобождение от завистта една част, същата пакет ще дойде отново тук, да запълни това място. Това е как да се обясня. Откъде идва този пакет и за какво става?
At the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that even if the whole universe is delivered, all the living entities, another set of living entities will come. So how we can where these living entities come from and how we can...
Oh, they come in the spiritual world. They're falling down from the spiritual world.
Тези живи същества падат от духовния свят. Те идват от там.
There's living entities constantly falling down from the spiritual world.
Постоянно падат живи същества от духовния свят.
Do you know that?
Не знаеш ли това?
Yeah, now you do.
Аз знам, че като видиш път Кришна, никога не падаш в материално.
He knew that once you see Krishna, you never fall down again.
Oh yeah, we will not. Once we go back, we will not ever fall. That's a fact. But there are others who never fell down, and curiosity killed the cat. There's an infinite number of living entities in the spiritual world. And if you go back to Golok and you tell him, well, I fell down and it was horrible, and by Prabhupada's mercy and Vaishnava's mercy, I was saved. So whatever you do, don't fall down. But still, there are going to be people falling down from the spiritual world. It's inevitable that they will continue falling down. Because the independent nature is there eternally. And there's an infinite number of living entities. And time goes on eternally. Material time, there's an eternal period of time in which it can happen. So don't let it confuse you. Just go back to Godhead and you'll be all right. Next question.
If at the end of our lives we still have unsatisfied desires for service, what will happen?
What kind of service? Devotional service?
Yes.
Well, Krishna will fulfill them.
Krishna ще ги удовлетвори.
If you're absorbed in thoughts of service that you like to do, then Krishna will definitely fulfill your desire. Sooner or later, he will fulfill all your spiritual desires.
Ако ти си погълнат от желание за служене, прямо служене, Кришна със сигурност ще го удовлетвори рано или късно тези желания.
He even fulfills the material desires of the non-devotees. Of the devotees, he fulfills all spiritual desires in due course.
Той удовлетворява дори желанията на непредано дадените материалните желания, така че духовните желания на предано дадените той ще ги удовлетвори със сигурност.
Any other questions?
Някакви други въпроси?
Nardamani.
Какво се изразява завистта между предано дадените?
How does envy manifest amidst devotees?
Well, there's two types of envy amongst the devotees. There's material and spiritual envy.
Има два вида завист между преданодайните. Едната е материалната, другата е духовната завист.
I know I had envy was I remember when I was a young brahmachari, I had a big problem with envy.
Аз си спомням, че като млад брамачари има голям проблем с завистта.
Because I was in a little remote temple far away from where Prabhupada visited, you see.
Защото бях в един така малко отдалечен храм, където Прабхупад рядко идваше.
And we always used to hear devotees passing through, yeah, I was with Prabhupada on the morning walk, he said this to me, I was with him in his room for darshan and this and that, and I was going, you hear this for like 1 year, 2 years. Everyone is talking about how they're with Prabhupada. Here I am in a little temple. Prabhupada never even came there, you see.
И аз чувах такива истории, как преданници се срещали с Прабхупад на сутрешна разходка.
We would sometimes see him, we would go to where he was, but there'd be so many devotees around, you could hardly get close to him, you know?
И понеже бяхме отдалечен храм, много рядко можехме да го видиме.
Only the GBCs and the sannyasis would be up there in the room with him. You see?
Само старшите преданни, като санясите и GBC.
The rank and file members are, you know, they're down in the temple room, and then all the biggies are up with Prabhupada in the room, and you're sitting down here thinking, well, Hare Krishna. So I was getting rather envious that he had so many devotees with Prabhupada, and I didn't, and I was just, you know, I was always at a distance. And I was feeling pretty bad, you know, you're not supposed to be envious of your godbrothers, you know. So I wrote Prabhupada, I'm envious of my godbrothers because they're getting your association and I'm not. What can I do, Prabhupada, to get over this envy?
И аз писах на Прабхупад писмо, че завиждам на моите духовни брати и какво мога да направя да преодолея тая завист.
And his answer surprised me like anything.
И неговият отговор ме изненада.
He didn't tell me to get rid of the envy.
Изненада страшно много. Той не ми каза да се освободи от завистта.
He said spiritual envy means that when you see someone else, that Krishna is recognizing someone else more than you, you should try harder so that Krishna will recognize you also.
Той ми каза, че духовна завист означава, когато видиш, че някой удовлетворява Кришна, ти да пожелаеш да го удовлетвориш още повече, така че Кришна да те признае.
So Prabhupada did not see my envy as material.
Така че Прабхупад не гледаше на моята завист като на материална.
Because my envy was, I want to have Prabhupada's association like my godbrothers are getting it.
Защото моята завист беше всъщност, че аз исках общуването на Прабхупад като това, което имаха моите духовни братя.
And Prabhupada told me, this is very good actually, this envy. Now you try harder, you see. So amongst devotees, if I see someone else as being recognized as better devotee than me, and I'm envious of them, that's great. And you should try harder so that Krishna will recognize you also. But if I have a different type of envy where I want to put that devotee down, you see. Like I heard one time in Mayapur, when some devotees were leading kirtan, somebody were envious. They came and pulled out the plug on the amplifier. You see.
Както чух, че един път в Майапур преданен водил киртан и някой ме завиждал и дошъл и дръпнал.
See, that's mundane envy. When I'm going to put the other devotee down, you see.
Когато искам да приниза другия преданен.
In the material world, envy means I step on your head and push you down so I can go up. That's material envy.
Материална завист означава да ти стъпа на главата, за да мога да се изкача.
But in spiritual envy, we appreciate the object of our envy.
Но духовната завист ние оценяваме обекта на нашата завист.
That this devotee is so dear to Srila Prabhupada. Just see how he's being recognized.
Този преданен е толкова скъп на Шрила Прабхупад. Вижте само колко е изтъкнат.
Let me learn from this advanced devotee so that I can also be recognized by Prabhupada. You see?
Нека да се получи от този напредно преданен, така че Шрила Прабхупад да признае.
That's spiritual envy.
Ето това е духовна завист.
So spiritual envy is great.
Така че
this devotee did more books than me out on Sankirtan. He got the Mahaprasadam.
Този преданен разпространи повече книги от мен на Санкиртан и получи Махапрасад.
I have to scheme and how I can distribute more books than he did, you see.
Трябва да измисля план как да разпространя повече книги от него.
Srila Prabhupada fanned the fire of transcendental envy amongst his disciples like anything.
Шрила Прабхупада раздухваше огънят на пламъците на трансценденталната завист между своите.
He said, whichever temple distributes more books, I will go there and reside there and do my translation work at that temple.
Той казваше, който храм победи в надпреварата за повече книги разпространени, аз ще отида там и ще живея.
He fanned that fire of transcendental envy like anything.
И ще пише своите книги. И той раздухваше пламъците на тази.
And the competition mood was incredible that they used to have.
И по това време всъщност това съревнование, това настроение на съревнование беше невероятно.
The biggest one year, the big competition was between the Los Angeles Temple and the Radha Party.
Един път, една година, най-голямо съревнование беше между храма в Лос Анджелис и групата, Санкиртан групата Рада Дамодар.
Who would remit more money to the BBT? You see, that was the real thing. Who gave more cash, more money to the BBT? That was the real competition. Who could donate more money to the BBT?
Целта на съревнованието беше коя група ще даде повече пари в брой на BBT.
So Tamal Krishna Maharaj told the person who was in charge of collecting the checks, he said, whatever amount Rameshwara gives, you add this much more to it, and I'm giving you a blank check. I'm turning you, our collection is coming in the form of a blank check. Whatever Rameshwara gives, you add this much more to it, and it will clear.
И Тамал Кришна Госвами каза на своя секретар, че колкото водача на другата група Рамешвар даде на BBT, той ще веднага да попълни същия чек.
This was the intensity of the transcendental competition, you see.
Това беше интензивността на трансценденталното съревнование.
So if somebody, you see some devotee leads the most sweet, amazing, attractive kirtans, you see.
Ако чуеш някой преданен, който води най-прекрасния сладък привлекателен киртан,
you should think, just see how much mercy he's getting from Prabhupada.
Трябва да си мислиш, само виж колко милост получава той от Шрила.
Let me try harder to become more devotional in my mood, so my kirtans can also take off the material plane and enter into Goloka.
Нека и аз стана толкова ентусиазиран своето настояние на пренос, така че моите киртани да...
So the envy of appreciating and wanting to also become advanced, that's a very good sort of envy.
Така че тази завист, която оценяваш другите и искаш и ти да напреднеш повече от тях, това е много добър вид.
But it's an envy where you always appreciate that person who you're admiring their advancement. You always appreciate them. You never think badly of them. You always appreciate them very much.
При тази завист ти винаги оценяваш много високо личността, която има тези качества и не се опитваш...
You don't have any bad thoughts. You just go, wow, that devotee is really advanced. Now let me become more advanced.
Никога не мислиш нещо лошо за него. Ти си кажеш, този преданен е толкова напреднал, сега нека аз да напредна повече.
Any other questions?
Има ли други въпроси?
I mean, I'll put things down to the ground, I'm sorry. But speaking of like solving some issue, particular issue, like do this or repair that or whatever, requires some skills. So based on skills, based on experience, based on intelligence or whatever, there might be some disagreement, even among devotees.
Oh yeah, that's natural. Prabhupada said, the Bulgarian, so everyone knows.
Аз се извинявам, че ще принизя нещата отново на така наземната форма, но за да решим даден проблем, какъв и да било той, нали, предполага някакви умения. Интелигентност, опит, знания, нали, това доста често може да стане повод за противоречия дори сред вайшнавите.
So, Prabhupada explains in his purport that sometimes amongst the devotees there are disagreements. One devotee thinks, well, the best way to do this service is like this. Another devotee says, no, the best way to do this service is like that. Such a difference of opinion, Srila Prabhupada explains, is not mundane. He says that such a difference of opinion is spiritual. Why does Prabhupada say that? Because both parties are thinking how to serve Krishna, you see. They're both agreeing to serve Krishna, but they just think there's two. One thinks this is the best way, or they think this is the best way.
двете страни са съгласни на това да служат на Кришна, но всеки смята, че...
So we should never allow such disagreements which are natural to come up from time to time.
Никога не трябва да позволяваме такива несъгласия, които естествено от време на време да се появяват.
To create a feeling of enmity with those devotees that we disagree on how things should be done.
Да създават чувство на враждебност към тези преданодайни, с които не се съгласяваме как трябва да се правят нещата.
I mean, there are certain devotees in the movement, I have certain God brothers that, we don't really see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Аз имам някои духовни братя в движението, с които не се разбираме за някои неща.
So I just preach in a different part of the world, that's all.
И просто не се застъпвам, аз просто проповядвам в други части на света.
Instead of bashing my head, fighting and battling it out, trying to convince him that my opinion is right and yours is wrong, I just let him preach in his area, I'll preach in mine.
Вместо да се опитвам да се конфронтирам с тях и да им казвам, че техният начин не е правилния, просто ние се проповядваме в различни зони.
And at a distance, I just think good thoughts about what a wonderful devotee is, even though if I were with him together, we might be having so many disagreements. To avoid that, I just do my preaching in a different part of the world.
И от разстояние аз мисля добри мисли за този правилно даден и просто проповядвам в различни части на света.
So I can just meditate on all of his wonderful qualities.
И по този начин аз медитирам върху неговите прекрасни качества.
Here's the insider's secret in this connection.
Тази връзка има една вътрешна тайна.
If we meditate on a devotee's faults, and we all have our faults, let's face it.
Ако медитираме върху недостатъците на преданодайните, всички ние имаме такива.
If we absorb ourselves in thinking of others' faults, guess what we're meditating on?
Ако се потопиме в мисли за грешките на другите, познайте върху какво медитираме.
I'll give you a hint.
Ще ви дам един
It's not Krishna.
един намек. Това не е Кришна.
So such thoughts are not healthy for us.
С други думи, тези мисли не са здравословни за нас.
Rather, we should appreciate the wonderful qualities of the devotees.
По-скоро ние трябва да се научим да цениме прекрасните качества на преданодайните.
And the insider's secret in this side of the coin is this.
Пък от тази страна на монетата, тайната е такава.
If I always thinking about the good quality of this devotee, the good quality of that devotee, guess what happens to me?
Ако аз винаги мисля за добрите качества на преданодайните, познайте какво ще ми се случи.
Those good qualities come to me also.
Тези добри качества ще дойдат и при мен.
In other words, whatever you meditate on, that is what you become.
С други думи, това върху което съсредоточавате вниманието си е това, което ставате.
If I always think of the faults of the devotees, then I remain full of faults myself.
Ако аз винаги мисля за недостатъците на преданодайните, аз също се изпълням с...
But if I think of the wonderful qualities of the devotees,
Но ако аз мисля за техните прекрасни качества,
then I inherit their wonderful qualities.
тогава аз също наследявам техните...
So I make that a practice.
Затова съм...
Every single Vaishnava,
Всеки един вайшнава,
whether it's a highly advanced devotee, a great pure devotee,
независимо дали е много напреднал, велик, чист
or a
преданодайник,
struggling, bumbling neophyte,
или един борещ се, предпъващ се, начинаещ,
I try to see the good, some wonderful good quality in every single devotee.
аз се опитвам да видя някакво добро качество във всеки един преданодайник.
Because I'm greedy for spiritual advancement.
Защото съм алчен да напредвам духовно.
And I know that by doing this, Krishna will bless me with more and more spiritual advancement, more and more Krishna consciousness.
И аз знам, че като правя това, Кришна ще ме благослови с още и още духовен.
But I still have a lot of disagreements with different God brothers. That's a fact.
Все още имам доста несъгласие с различни свои духовни брати.
I have disagreements with a lot of you also, the way you do your service. There's a lot of things here I don't like that's going on here, I'll tell you the truth.
И да ви кажа истината, имам много несъгласие с повечето от вас тук и начинът, по който си вършите
It's not that I completely agree with everything that's going on around me. I don't completely agree with everything that I see going on around me here in this devotee community.
Не е така, че аз се съгласявам с всичко, което виждам около себе си в тази общност на вайшнави.
But I follow Prabhupada's example. I'm 10% strict and 90% lenient.
Но аз следвам примера на Шрила Прабхупад, който е бил 10% стриктен и 90% така либерален.
Because if you're too strict, nobody will ever listen to you. You won't have any effect anyway. What's the use of being too strict?
Защото ако си твърде стриктен, никой няма да те слуша и няма да има никаква полза.
They'll just say all he does is chastise and find fault. We don't even want to hear him anymore.
Той всичко, което прави, само да ни назидава и да ни търси грешките, не искам да слушам.
You see, Prabhupada was He would give so much encouragement, 90%.
Шила Прабхупад толкова окоръжава своите преводани, 90%.
And when that 10% hits you, though, that thunderbolt, when you got zapped by one of Prabhupada's thunderbolts, heavy. But because he was so kind and lenient, you knew it was from love, it wasn't from envy or enmity.
Понеже той 90% бил много любезен, затова вие знаете, че това не е от завист или от враждебност.
So the most important thing is we're very lenient and tolerant, even when we have disagreements.
Най-важното е, че ние сме толерантни и либерални, въпреки че имаме несъгласия.
Because the only way you can get somebody to listen to you
Защото единственият начин да накараш някой да те слуша
is if they like you.
е ако те харесват. Той те харесва.
And how are you going to get somebody to like you?
А как може да накараш някой да те харесва?
You can only get them to like you if you like them first.
Може да го накараш да те харесва само ако ти най-напред си го харесва.
So the way to be a successful preacher is simply to like everybody, to really like everyone, you see.
Затова тайната на успешното проповядване е проповедникът да
To have genuine feelings of appreciation for all the devotees.
да се научи да харесва всички, наистина да оценява качествата на превода.
Because as soon as you like me, you see,
Защото веднага, щом
then naturally I will like you because you like me.
по естествен начин и аз ще те харесвам.
And once I like you, then I'm willing to hear from you.
И веднъж, когато почна да те харесвам, ще желая да слушам от теб.
And when you tell me that I think the way you're doing this is wrong, I will seriously hear what you have to say and consider it with an open heart.
И ако ти ми кажеш, че нещо, което правя, не е правилно, аз искрено ще те слушам с открито сърце.
So the real solution for these disagreements is we have to build loving relationships.
Затова истинското разрешение на тези несъгласие е да изградиме взаимоотношения на любов.
And then even when there's a disagreement, then we can open-mindedly discuss it without any envy or anger, you see.
И дори когато има някакви несъгласия, ние можем да открито да дискутираме тези неща без враждебност, без завист.
Then with a cool head, you see, in a loving way, friendly way, we can discuss so many issues without getting mad at each other, you see.
Тогава много хладнокръвно и по един нормален, любящ начин може да обсъждаме всички тези.
So that's why this loving relationship is so important.
Ето затова са толкова важни тези взаимоотношения.
That even if I disagree with you,
дори да не се съгласявам с теб,
still you're my beloved Prabhu.
въпреки това ти си оставаш моят
You see, this mood. And that will minimize whatever friction comes from disagreements.
И това ще намали до минимум търканията, които се получават.
And actually, who of us really has a completely clear vision on anything, really, ultimately?
И всъщност, кой би могъл да каже, че има ясна визия за всичко, което става?
I might think I'm expert in one particular thing.
Аз мога да си мисля, че съм много опитен в определена област.
But still, I could be wrong sometimes.
Но въпреки това понякога мога и да греша.
So if we're willing to hear from others, that's how we'll become more and more expert in everything that we do.
Ако аз съм склонен да слушам от другите, ето как аз ще стана още по-опитен във всичко, което правя. По-експертен.
Never think, well, I'm a specialist in this, so nobody knows better than me in this.
Никога не си мислете, аз съм специалист в тази област и никой не знае по-добре от мен.
This happened one time with my godbrother Hari Vilas Prabhu.
Това се случи един път с Хари Вилас Прабhu, мой духовен брат.
He had just come from the UK over to France to visit Prabhupada.
Той тъкмо се беше върнал от Великобритания във Франция да посети Шила.
And the boat had crossed at Dover. The boat crossing was to Dover. Or the exact name I don't remember. But the boat had crossed to a particular city. From England over to the particular city in France.
Границата минаваше в един определен град между двете държави.
So Prabhupada, he was with Prabhupada in Paris, and Prabhupada said, "Well, how are you going back to England? From what port are you leaving France to cross the English Channel back to England?"
Шила Прабхупада в Париж го попита откъде точно ще прекосиш границата, за да се върнеш в Англия.
And he gave him the name of the port, you see.
И той каза името на това пристанище.
Then Prabhupada said, because he thought he was expert, he had this ticket and everything. He knew he was expert. But Prabhupada said, no, you're going to be crossing via Calais. There was a different port.
Той казал името на пристанището, но Шрила Прабхупад му казал не, ти ще минеш през друго пристанище.
So he said, no, Srila Prabhupada. He was looking at his ticket, you know.
Той казал, не, Шрила Прабхупад.
Like, Prabhupada doesn't know what he's talking about.
Ето тук на билета ми пише, ти не
No, Prabhupada, I'm not going by Calais. I'm going to this other city.
Ти не знаеш за какво говориш. Вероятно, аз няма да мина през този град.
He was arguing with Prabhupada. Prabhupada didn't know what he was talking about.
Той спорил с Прабхупад, сякаш Прабхупад не знае за какво говори.
So he left. He went to the city where he came over, you see.
И той си тръгнал.
And then they made an announcement, ladies and gentlemen, due to bad weather in the English Channel, today we are transferring to Calais. We're crossing via Calais.
И там обявили, дами и господа, поради лошото време днеска е затворена тази граница, ще трябва да минете през другата.
And he went, oh my God, how did I talk with Prabhupada? Prabhupada knew, and I was telling Prabhupada he didn't know what he was talking about, and what a fool I am to argue with my spiritual master, you see.
Той си каза, о Господи, какво направих? Аз спорих със своя духовен учител, като си мислих, че той не знае за какво говори.
So sometimes we may think, yes, I am very expert.
Понякога може да си мислим, о, да, аз съм много
In this particular field, no one knows better than me in this field.
В тази област никой не знае, не е по-опитен от мен.
But such an attitude means, you know, Krishna can teach us a lesson sometimes.
Но такова едно отношение предизвиква така Кришна да ни даде урок понякога.
Embarrass us.
И да се почувстваме така, да се
Being so proud.
заради това, че сме били толкова горди.
Now the real expert in any field, the one who is truly expert, he always remains humble.
Този, който наистина е експертен във всички области, той винаги остава смирен.
He's always willing to hear someone who may know it from someone who may more than him about that his particular field of expertise.
Той винаги да чуе нещо повече от някой, който знае повече от него в тази.
So any more questions?
Има ли някакви други въпроси?
Okay.
Then to the global platform again. My perspective a little differs. I would say that people they basically it's not that they aim each other that much. It's rather like competition. I will get more, like a few more words about that.
So the
like greed.
Yeah.
Радвинов първо казва, че неговата перспектива е по-различна, че всъщност хората не толкова, че си завиждат, а по-скоро искат да се съревновават, да имат, всеки да има повече, породено от алчност. Може ли малко повече от тази връзка да кажем?
See, I'm thinking it's your greed, and you're thinking it's my greed. We may say, well, this person we're disagreeing because this person is greedy. He's not being pure in his attitude. We may find fault with him. He's being greedy. I'm being pure, but he's being greedy. But he's thinking the same thing around about me. That I'm being pure, but he's being greedy. So who's actually greedy and who's actually pure? How will it be settled up? See, I'm thinking that I'm pure and you're greedy. You're thinking that you're pure and I'm greedy. So who will settle up?
Who aspires for less?
Whoever aspires for less.
I know Tamal Krishna, when he gave an interesting answer one time in this regard. He said that, I'm saying that actually you're offending me, you see. And you're saying, no, I'm not being offensive, it's you who are offending me. So who's actually the ones being offensive? Tamal Krishna gave this answer, very interesting answer. He said, whoever gets the reaction. So, if it's not clear right away, you just wait and see. It'll be obvious, who got the reaction and who didn't. So you don't need to judge. Let the material nature be the judge and see who gets the reaction.
границата и
Of course, you can always, when you go back to Godhead, you can always ask Krishna.
Разбира се, винаги когато се върне, ако се върнат обратно при Бога, по всяко време може да попитате Кришна.
Or you can consult with senior Vaishnavas on this planet, you know.
Консултирате с старши вайшнави.
Find an impartial senior Vaishnava who's equally disposed to you and the other party. Have him hear all the details and let him decide.
Някой безпристрастен старши вайшнава, който е благоразположен към двамата, да реши спора.
This is called mediator, transcendental mediator, you see.
Това се нарича трансцендентален медиатор.
You know, Sanatana Goswami used to do that service for the devotees in Vrindavan.
Шрила Санатана Госвами извършва това служене за преданодайните в Вриндавана.
You know he used to be a mediator in Vrindavan?
Знаете ли, че той бил такъв посредник, като медиатор?
Let me ask you this. Where do the most arguments take place?
Нека ви питам следното. Къде има най-много спор?
Where is there the highest volume of arguments going on?
Къде аргументите се разгарят
This is a question for householders.
Това е въпрос за семейните.
Where is the highest volume of arguments going on?
Къде споровете се
Between husband and wife, of course. That's where the most arguments are going on.
Много ясно.
So, in Vrindavan, the householders, they used to approach Sanatana Goswami.
В Вриндавана семейните се обръщали към Санатана Госвами.
The wife, she would tell Sanatana Goswami her side of the story.
Съпругата казвала на Санатана Госвами своята страна на историята.
The husband, he would tell his side of the story.
А съпруга казвал неговата гледна точка.
And then he would say, you are right and you are wrong, and they would accept.
И Санатана Госвами казвал, ти си прав или ти грешиш.
So both parties are willing to accept the authority of a third party, a mediator, you see.
И двете страни били готови да приемат отсъждането.
If both can agree to accept the mediator,
ако и двете страни се гласат да приемат медиатора,
that's another way to resolve the conflicts.
Това е друг начин да бъдат разрешени конфликтите.
По делата ще ги познаете. Нали има едно такова, по делата ще ги познаете. Кой лично въпросът беше кой по-завистливи, как ще се справя. По делата ще се разбере.
Тоест не по реакцията, по делата.
Кой какво прави смисъл? Единият трупа погасва, другия не трупа, другия ги дава на Кришна. Кой какво прави смисъл?
There is another saying that you can know someone by his deeds.
Yeah.
So is this also an indicator?
Yes. Sometimes there's a dispute between this devotee and that devotee, but you see who actually makes it in Krishna consciousness and who doesn't. That's another way you would know.
Да, това е друг начин. Примерно, когато двама преданодайни спорят, може да видиш кой от двамата всъщност наистина напредва в Кришна съзнание.
Who actually continues, who shows himself to be a saintly person in character in the long run, you see.
Кой в по-дългосрочен план показва, че свята личност.
And the other person not able to do that, he's not able to follow the principles, etc., etc.
Ако другата личност не е способна да напредва и да следва принципите и така нататък.
That would be a very good indication that the person who manifested saintly character was actually right in the dispute.
Това може да бъде много добър признак, че личността, която проявила свят характер е бил прав, а другия не.
Ако и двете страни направят, значи двете страни са грешали така.
If both parties did not show good advancement after that, so does it mean that
both parties?
If both parties did not continue after that in Krishna consciousness,
and both of them fell by the wayside? They're both rascals then.
Да, това означава, че
both wrong.
Страни са грешали, са били негодни.
Възможно е да се бутнали един друг всъщност, заради оскърбленията си да се...
Is it possible that they fell down because they offended each other?
It's possible. The offenses they committed against each other could have caused both of them to fall down. That's right. It could happen like that. Therefore, the first principle is not to offend Vaishnavas. Should always bow down at the feet of the Vaishnavas, offer them our obeisances. Just like in this purport it's quoted, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha padilinam navanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. That mood should always be there. Even if I disagree with you, even if I think you're wrong, still I offer my obeisances at your feet. That is Vaishnava. So, it's getting... I think dusk has come. We're supposed to fast until dusk, but it looks like dusk has come. The sun has set, hasn't it? Anybody see the sun out there?
No.
I remember the first Gaur Purnima, or the second one in Dallas, fasting until moonrise, and we couldn't see. We were in the middle of the city. Somebody got in a car and went driving around looking for the moon. And they came back, yeah, I saw the moon. All right, take the feast. So it does look like dusk out there. The sun is set in the west, so I think everybody's feeling that the transcendental desire to honor the mercy of Lord Nrsimhadev. So in all respect to the assembled Vaishnavas, to serve the assembled Vaishnavas, we will end here. Nrsimha Chaturdashi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sankarshana Prabhu ki jai.